Welcome to Hollywood to Netflix. Today, we are going to dive deep into a complete breakdown, recap, and review of the absolute bloodbath that is Evil Dead Burn. Now, if you thought Evil Dead Rise pushed the boundaries of family trauma and gore, you are not ready for what director Sebastian Vaniak has cooked up for us this time. Released fresh in July 2026, this film takes the legendary franchise created by Sam Raimi and drops it into the meanest, most punishing territory yet. It completely ditches the campy, funny side of the classic movies and replaces it with pure, raw survival horror. Imagine grieving the sudden, tragic death of your husband, only to go to a secluded family lake house to heal. But instead of comfort, your in-laws turn into horrific, flesh-eating demons called Deadites one by one. And worst of all, the physical demons in the house aren't even the darkest secrets waiting in the shadows. We are breaking down every gruesome twist, the hidden layers of toxic family trauma, that wild jackhammer finale, and giving you an honest review of whether this movie lives up to the Evil Dead name. Make sure you sit tight, hit that subscribe button, and let's jump straight into the nightmare. Our story focuses on Alice, played brilliantly by Souheila Yacoub. Alice is a woman carrying a heavy, silent burden. She is married to Will, but their marriage is far from perfect. In fact, beneath the surface, Will is deeply abusive, controlling, and manipulative. Alice has spent years covering up the emotional and physical scars, keeping up appearances for the sake of Will's seemingly perfect family. The movie kicks off at a crowded, neon-lit nightclub. The family has gathered to celebrate the birthday of Will's brother, Joseph, played by Doohan. Joseph is a bit of an outcast in the family, obsessed with history and old books. During the party, Alice lets slip a casual, harmless joke, but it triggers Will's fragile, toxic ego. He snaps, dragging her aside and unleashing his aggressive temper. Alice is forced to swallow her pain once again to keep the peace. Frustrated and completely intoxicated after the blowout, Will decides he's had enough of the party. He jumps into his car and speeds off into the dark, rainy night, leaving Alice behind. Meanwhile, near a misty, quiet lake not far away, two local fishermen are packing up their gear. Suddenly, they are ambushed by something unnatural, fast, and vicious. It's Jessica, a fully turned, terrifying Deadite. She brutally tears the fisherman apart before sprinting toward the road. Cut back to Will. He's driving blindly, blinded by rage and alcohol, when suddenly bam, a figure appears out of nowhere. Will slams into Jessica. The car veers violently off the road, crashing into a tree, and explodes into a massive ball of fire. Will is killed instantly, trapped inside the burning wreckage. We skip forward a short time. The family is devastated. To able to rest and process the grief, his parents, his grandmother, and Alice all travel out to a secluded, decaying lake house. This property originally belonged to Joseph and Will's late grandfather, Benjamin. It's an old house falling apart at the seams, completely isolated from civilization. While the parents are busy arguing about the upkeep of the house and trying to maintain a facade of a perfect, grieving family, Joseph sneaks down into the basement. He knows his grandfather Benjamin was an occult researcher. Digging through dusty crates, Joseph uncovers something wrapped in old cloth, the ancient Kandarian dagger, and notes on the Naturum de Monto, the Book of the Dead. Upstairs, the atmosphere is incredibly tense. Alice is dealing with her in-laws, who subtly blame her for the fracture in Will's life, especially Susan, Will's mother, who treats Alice with passive-aggressive coldness. The only bizarre distraction is the 85-year-old grandmother, played by Maude, Davey, who suffers from severe dementia. She keeps wandering around the house, missing a leg, randomly screaming and accusing family members of stealing from her. Back in the basement, Joseph's curiosity gets the better of him. He translates a series of incantations left behind by his grandfather. He doesn't realize that the moment the ancient words leave his lips, an invisible, malevolent force awakens in the surrounding woods. The wind howls, the lake churns, the demonic entity breaches the lake house. The first to encounter it is Max, one of the family members present. The entity forces its way into his body, twisting his limbs and turning his eyes pitch black. Max has become a Deadite. He immediately goes on a rampage inside the house. Alice, completely trapped and confused, finds herself cornered by Max. In a frantic, terrifying struggle for survival, she manages to get hold of a heavy object and is forced to brutally kill Max to save herself. Hearing the chaos, Joseph rushes upstairs, only to find the house transforming into a slaughterhouse. Before he can warn anyone, Another family member suddenly appears, already possessed, her jaw unhinged and dripping with black bile. The horror shifts into high gear as director Sebastian Vaniek turns the camera completely upside down. We watch characters fighting for their lives against the walls and ceilings as physics bend to the demonic will of the Necronomicon. Alice manages to break away from the madness and hides in the dark corridors of the house. As she listens to the screams of her in-laws being hunted down and turned, the intense trauma triggers horrific flashbacks. We see the reality of her marriage to all the moments he trapped her, the gaslighting, and the physical abuse. The movie brilliantly parallels the inescapable claustrophobia of domestic abuse with the literal trap of a house filled with demons. Realizing that running away won't save her, Alice decides to fight back. She stumbles upon a workshop and arms herself with a heavy, roaring rotary saw. As she searches for survivors, she is viciously ambushed by Polly, who has turned into a manic, laughing Deadite. Polly grabs a fountain pen and brutally drives it straight into Alice's right ear, completely deafening her on one side. Disoriented, bleeding, and screaming in pain, Alice uses her environment to her advantage. She lures Polly toward the staircase, forces her onto a heavy motorized stairlift, and jams the controls, sending Polly into a crushing, fatal trap at the top of the stairs. Alice finds Susan, the mother, trembling and hiding. Together, they drag a dying Joseph into the bathroom. Joseph, bleeding out from wounds inflicted by Edgar, passes away in Alice's arms, leaving the two women entirely alone. Barricaded in the bathroom, the psychological tension explodes. Alice ties Susan up, not out of malice, but to protect them both if Susan turns. Standing over her, Alice finally breaks her silence. She confronts Susan about the years of abuse she suffered from Will, pointing out how Susan always turned a blind eye, protecting her son's image rather than acknowledging the monster he was. Susan, weeping, finally snaps. She admits her utter hatred for Alice and screams that she knew exactly what Will was doing. The raw hatred in Susan's heart makes her the perfect vessel. Right before Alice's eyes, Susan's skin contorts, her teeth sharpen, and she becomes fully possessed by the Deadite entity. Alice barely escapes the bathroom as the house begins to catch fire from overturned lanterns. She flees out into the night, heading toward a nearby muddy construction site. But the nightmare isn't over. Out from the burning woods stumbles the charred, agonizing figure. It's Will, but it's not the Will she knew. His body is half burned from the car crash, and he is entirely possessed by the Kandarian demon, mocking her with her past trauma. The finale is a relentless, mud-soaked battle. Will pursues Alice into the construction site. He pins her down, taunting her, using the exact abusive phrases he used in life. But Alice refuses to be a victim anymore. Using every ounce of her strength, she maneuvers Will, trapping him deep inside a pit filled with thick, wet tar. As Will struggles, Alice grabs a heavy-duty pneumatic jackhammer. She pairs it with the Kandarian dagger found earlier. With a final, cathartic scream of defiance, she drives the jackhammer and the dagger straight into the possessed monster, destroying him completely as the tar pit swallows his remains. As the sun finally rises over the lake, the paramedics and police arrive, rescuing a blood-soaked, deafened, but ultimately free Alice. Wow, what an absolutely exhausting, brutal ride. Now, let's talk about whether Evil Dead Burn actually works as an Evil Dead movie. On one hand, the practical effects, the makeup, and the cinematography by Philip Lozano are spectacular. The camera movements are dizzying. The violence feels painfully real, like that dinner fork scene and the fountain pen moment, and Souheila Yacoub delivers an incredible, physically demanding performance. It treats the allegory of a woman fighting back against an abusive family very seriously. However, if you are a die-hard fan of Sam Raimi's original trilogy or Army of Darkness, you might find this one a bit too mean-spirited. It completely drains the Looney Tunes, slapstick humor that made the older movies so distinct. It tries hard to build a wider cinematic universe, more connecting back to old grandfathers and researchers, which feels a little unnecessary. Overall, it's a rock-solid, ultra-violent entry that treats horror with dead serious intensity. If you love new French extremity-style torture horror, you will absolutely love this. What did you think of the ending? Did Alice's final showdown satisfy you? Or did you miss the classic chainsaw action? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your fellow horror-loving friends, and subscribe to Hollywood to Netflix for more weekly movie explanations and reviews. Until next time, stay safe, stay out of the woods, and see ya.